Alright, hello! So, for those of you that don't know, we're about to get the first part of a very huge change to Warframe. And that change is to the fusion system, the new fusion system, also known as Endo. So, this is... Stage 1 of this is kind of potentially nothing, but quality of life improvements, but there are a few things to be careful of. However, the notes that I have here are based on the information we got directly from DE, so all of this stuff is accurate. So first of all, we know what Endo looks like. It looks like this. And the thing that's interesting about this image is that it is like a big orb with lots inside of it, so we can pretty much predict that this is going to be like the general art for it, and this is like a bundle of Endo, as it were. So that's what it looks like for reference. That's the stuff that we're going to be using to power up mods in the future. Beyond that, the reason that they're changing it. So, basically, exactly what they said is right up there. But it boils down to their system being too complex and fucking really confusing, and you have to do a lot of fucking work to understand exactly what's going on, which I will be explaining later in this video. So they need to change it to make it make some goddamn sense. Which is admirable. That's obviously a great thing. Making things more clear just in the UI base and what the hell you're working towards and all that stuff is really, really important. So, that brings us to these notes and what's going to happen with them whenever this update rolls out. I've already explained Endo. Endo is fusion energy, and fusion energy is actually already a thing. Fusion energy is a hidden stat on mods that you can actually like math out and do all kinds of stuff and things with that we'll be explaining later, so you guys can make sure that Endo is still a good system, or Endo is a good system when it rolls out, and that your farm hasn't been increased. So, moving on, all of your duplicate mods can be instantly converted into Endo, and that's actually a very, very important sticking point, because how much Endo that conversion is worth is very, very important in deducing whether or not the economy for fusion energy goes up or down. It's pretty much all riding on that exact specific change because of the way mods and their current modifiers are whenever we fuse them, which I will explain when we go over the old fusion system that I know a lot of you are probably not super familiar with like I am. Endo will drop from enemies and missions where fusion cores used to. This is the other most important sticking point, because if they go in and be like, well, what's a rare 5 core pack? It's this much. If that amount is less than what we get now from like a stack of 5 rare 5 cores, that's very important. That is a grind increase. There's lots of time investments and all that kind of stuff that we need to pay attention to when this update rolls out. It's very, very important as the players of said game. And speaking as someone who is on a fucking ridiculous, stupid quest to max every single mod in the game right now, it's pretty important to me. So, there's that. Any partial upgrades will be refunded with equivalent Endo. This basically means that you're not going to be able to have like those middle ranks where you're like at rank 9.5. That won't exist anymore. You either have enough to upgrade it or you don't, which is really nice, and it just automatically refunding it is probably going to give us a lot of Endo that we didn't think we had, especially for those people that are like, what's this? Well, that's a rank 9 and 85% legendary mod. Well, that's a lot of fucking Endo, let me tell you that for sure. So you're going to have a lot you might not think you got. Your inventory, of course, is going to be converted on login whenever this rolls out, so you won't have to worry about that. But for those of you that are paranoid, you may want to count the exact amount of energy in the current system you have and do the conversion yourself just to be sure whenever things happen. Beyond that, legendary cores, very important. Those are not getting converted because those instantly max anything. Those are not being converted. That is confirmed by Steve on the Twitters. So you don't need to buy a bunch of legendary cores because they're going to be worth a fuck ton of Endo. They will remain the same. Their function will remain exactly the same. Do not buy them for 800 plat like some people are right now. Don't do that. That's very bad. So, with all this stuff is all potentially so fucking good, just front-ending the number that you need, how much you're getting per thing, how much is a fucking rare 5 fusion core worth, what is this, what does this mean? I have a stack of 800 redirections, what's that worth? I don't fucking know. Simplifying all that stuff is a good fucking plan, because nobody understands that shit. With exception. So, let's get rid of Steve here for a second. We're going to go over the old system, and bear with me, this system is real fucking not, it's not user-friendly, let me tell you that. So we're just going to pull us down. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff here, and we'll go over this this Huracan stuff here. I'll pull everything down, or up rather. So, this stuff is really, really important. So, on the left here, you can see, core-wise, rare 5 cores hold 62 total energy. That's the energy value of a single rare 5 core. When used in Fusion, the way cores work in Fusion is that 50% of their total energy is transferred during a fusion. So, effectively, you only have half of that, which is 31. So, relatively, those cores are only worth 31 energy each, which is very, very important. If you do the conversion, assuming you should have, double the endo that you think you might get whenever the conversion goes in, that will obviously not be the case. And the fusion modifiers, as we see here, I already explained the one for fusion cores, 100% transfer of energy for duplicates, which means if you have a redirection and another redirection, all of the energy that is in those redirections can transfer to each other one-to-one. Which is how duplicates transfer. And the duplicate transfer rate is very important whenever we're considering the conversion from mod to endo. Because if we no longer have 100% of the energy coming from that, that's very, very important and could be a potential huge nerf specifically for rare 10 common mods. Beyond that, if you match polarities during fusion, you use 50% of the energy. Same goes for fusion cores. Fusion cores match all polarities. That's kind of what their functionality is. Basically, what this means is that using half with just any matching polarity mod, this is the other sticking point, because instead of it being a 100% energy transfer, whenever we go from a stack of 800 redirections and convert that all to energy, if it's all 50% of what we might normally get, that means for the purposes of fusing into a redirection, the rate that we're maxing that mod is actually slower if we were only converting duplicates, which would slow down the farm for a lot of rare 10 commons, because you will get a lot of common mods, as you might expect from the name. Beyond that, non-matching, non-fusion core, that stuff, you get 25% of the energy. Now, if all conversion goes down to that, the grind will increase greatly. That is something that you should usually only do whenever you just have an absolute, obscene amount, you've got 1100 steel fiber or some crazy shit, and you are just going to shove all of that into, let's say, prime continuity. People do that. It's not particularly smart in terms of energy used, and hopefully that's not the rate that we're going to get, per mod. Because, as you can see below here, if we move this up a little bit, you can see the values per mod that you're fusing based on the way you're fusing them. So for duplicates, it takes 1023 to max any rare 10 mod, no matter what, because of the way duplicates transfer energy. So a common is worth 4, uncommon 8, rare 12, legendary 16. And 4, 8, 12, 16 is going to be a very common theme here whenever we math some shit out. So keep those numbers in mind. Non-matching polarities 1, 2, 3, 4, as you might expect. A fourth of said top energy, and of course matching is half that value, which is of course very important. Moving this back down, we can see old cores and the amount of time it would take you to max these things. One second. We can see how long and how much energy it takes to max rare 10 mods. And rare 10 mods are the fucking, they're the big dicks of the fucking fusion system. They're the ones that take forever, because they are a lot of energy. They are stacked with energy. They need a ton to level up, and they're the ones that are really important. No one is really actually worried about a rank 3 continuity or whatever the fuck. Or some other rank 3 mod. Continuity is a 5 rank mod. Regardless, Those super low rank stuff, like those don't get high enough in energy value for them to be really worth talking about, so these are the actual important setups. As that, rare 10 commons, they will end up with 4,092 energy. They take 132 rare 5 cores to max, and the drops per max number you're seeing here is the amount of packs of rare 5 cores that you need to drop on Huracan, or your preferred farming location. If you have a preferred farming location, Huracan is demonstrably the fastest. And below all of that, the estimated time to do those things. So I'm assuming you've seen the comments, so we'll move this down, and we'll talk about Huracan. Obviously, you can see the increase in grind up here, which is about 4 hours, roughly, given an average time, and then there are factors that go up and down, variance, but averaging over long periods of time, that'll be about right. 4 hours of grinding to max a rare 10 common, 8 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours for a 12-16, as we've seen before. You can also see that the energy required is about 4, 8, 12, 16, in the thousands, though. So, we're going based off Huracan, which is the place where people farm. You have 100 seconds per extractor, so given the absolute lowest amount of time, that's 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That is very, very unachievable. Considering loading times, considering the run itself, considering getting a large map that takes you a little bit to get to the end of. 3 minutes and 30 seconds, not a realistic calculation. So, I ran Huracan a few times to 2 extractors, obviously, to see what my kind of average time was, and I came up with 4 minutes and 30 seconds, roughly. Kind of a rough average, and is honestly probably a little bit low if you're kind of just taking it easy. Keep in mind, though, those are solo runs, and you may be able to do it just a little bit faster otherwise. You have a 25% chance to get rare 5-pack of rare 5 cores on Huracan for Rotation A, which is why you do 2 and leave, so you can get to your next 2 faster, because you need the cores. So, 2 minutes and 15 seconds, 135 seconds, is the potential amount of time per pack of rare 5 cores. Potential effective energy per run, which means you're getting 10 cores in total, is 310. The average effective energy you're going to get per run is 77.5, which means that per that 25% chance for those cores to drop, over a long period of time per run, you're going to be getting 70 to 80, or more like 70 to 90 energy per run over that long course of time, depending on your luck, of course. So, it ends up that the average energy per minute is 34. Roughly, of course. So, that's the kind of thing that we can be expecting. We can take these exact numbers and convert them to what the Endo system becomes based on the amount of Endo it takes to max, say, an uncommon rare 10 mod. It takes 8,184. And for me personally, I think they will lower these slightly to make more sense visually, in that a common rare 10 would take 4,000. This would take exactly 8,000, exactly 12,000, exactly 16,000. Because that just looks good on paper and makes sense. So I suspect that will be the case, and that the requirements will go down a very, very tiny little bit. So, with that, we get our times. And all that, like, the math is there. Do it yourself if you would really like to do it again. Figured you guys didn't want to just see, like, the breakdown of time and averages and all that shit. So, the thing that we need to watch out for whenever we convert to Endo is farming. Because the average effective energy per run, not counting drops, it's very important that this is not counting, like, the redirections and other shit that you just randomly pick up on the ground. It's not counting any of that stuff. So your actual, like, chances on chances on chances on chances amount of Endo you would be receiving, or energy in this case, is actually a little bit higher than that, but those common mods and such don't end up actually being worth that much, so they're not super worth talking about. But basically, the core value that we need to be certain is kept in check is that rare 5 cores individually In the cases that we would get them, we would want 31 times 5, which would be the drop of Endo that we would want in our slot on Huracan. 31 times 5, provided the system stays exactly the same. And because, as you can see, this is 4 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours, that's a long amount of time for one singular mod and maxing that out. At least in my opinion. Of course, the devs will set the grind to what they feel is appropriate. Of course. I think they could stand to be lowered a little. Not like a crazy amount. Like, still work. But I would like to see maybe like legendary cores brought down to like 14, 10, 6, like 2.5 is what I would really like to see in terms of grind. That seems better to me, but yeah, it's my opinion, whatever. But yeah, we just need to make sure that whenever we're doing those runs, we can kind of get a height of 310, roughly, the equivalent of that in the new system, and that our basic Rare 5 core is worth the same amount. But yeah, that's all that stuff. So if you didn't know how the current / old, depending on if that stuff comes out today, works, it works like that. It's very confusing, as you might imagine, as a Rare 5 core holds 62 energy, but is worth 31 for the purposes of fusion, which is very confusing. But yeah, also keep in mind if they do a direct conversion of held energy, which means they like give you the 62 per Rare 5 core, that would actually end up meaning that the values that you need to put into common, uncommon, rares, and legendaries could be doubled. And that would actually still make a lot of sense. Keeping in with that, though, we would want to make sure that all duplicate mods, or all mods that we would ever convert to Endo, would be worth the 100% transfer. And then that system would overall be better for us if you were just converting the mods into straight up exactly their energy value as it stands right now. But yeah, that's a lot of stuff. Let's pull this stuff back up if you guys want to see that again. I'll pull this back down. If you want to see all that stuff again, source on Steve, what Endo looks like once again. That's all I've got for the new fusion system that we're going to be getting very, very soon. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be much more straightforward. And I know I've been rambling for quite a long time, so I think I'm going to wrap this up, because there's like a lot of like hidden stats you guys probably don't care about, but those are the facts and what we need to watch out for. So, I'll see you guys tomorrow. If there are any questions, things I didn't cover, please leave them in the comments, as always. And if you enjoyed this video on kind of like more realistically, this kind of like back-end stuff, and how things are actually working in the background of the game, please let me know. I would like to do this kind of thing more often. Maybe we could discuss armor next time, or how shields scale, or enemy scaling in general. Who knows? Anything could happen. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.